Good morning, everyone. God has made a beautiful day here on planet Earth for us to enjoy. This is the 13th day of reading in the life and ministry of the Apostle Paul. Today we're continuing in the book of 1 Corinthians, chapters 9 through 11. And chapter 9, Paul reviews his authority as an apostle and gives us the case for ministerial wages. But then he turns around and refuses those wages because he doesn't want anything to hinder his ministry and his witness to both the Jews but also to the Greeks. And he is determined to be, as he says in 22, all things to all people. Chapter 10 gives us some warnings about idolatry. Idolatry was a plague among the Jewish people, the Israelites, all of their existence. And he repeats some episodes from their history to show this. And the greatest encouragement about temptation happens right here in chapter 10, that it is, according to verse 13, never going to be too much. Then we get into chapter 11, very confusing and on the first glance, and it shows us the very important aspect of Bible reading, which is to understand the context. Like, what are you talking about? Historical context shows that chapter 11 is written about a public worship service. Okay, when you're in church, these are the things. When you're in a public worship service, these are the things that are in view. And then he talks about, culturally, you realize he's talking about pagan religious practices. In the pagan religious practices, the men would pull their togas over their head, and as part of their pagan worship, God says, pull stuff over your head. Don't do that. In other words, don't imitate pagan worship. Also in pagan worship, sometimes the women would lift themselves up and honor themselves, uncover their heads, and prophesy. We don't imitate pagan practices. That's the wrong thing to do. We should all recognize only the authority of Christ and not imitate any kind of pagan religious practice at all. So that's what chapter 11 is talking about with the men and women issues. And we have to always remember Christ is in charge, and when we worship, we only honor him. Be blessed as we read God's word together.